nervousness of different kinds, even though I must have been up here hundreds of times. The nervousness is not about because you people are there. It would happen otherwise also. Even in a dress rehearsal it happens. And the nervousness is because you're about to deliver the baby. So like, there's a kind of labor pains which is sweet. Or it's also sometimes like a special combination of some chemicals will come together because we all are different people from different places. We didn't decide who's going to be here today. So it's a complete zone of unknown. And then the reaction of all that causes something like an empathetic pickup. You empathize, you pick it up. And that is why it's not a strict theatrical performance nor a strict storytelling performance. It's more in the tradition of, this is better. It's more in the tradition of Kirtan or even Dastagoi. So Dastagoi also they have a lot of memorized parts and then some parts are improvised as per the moment. And you spend a lot of time with the story. You internalize it. Interestingly, this is written by me, so it's easier for me to relate to it. I know where it's come from. It's been performed in different forms. Students did it and won an award. Then 3 actors in Pune, a couple of months back, we did 2-3 shows in a proper theatrical manner. And the last 3-4 sessions, we've just done dramatic storytelling, which is a kind of a new genre also. So it's basically in that folk tradition, and interestingly, the title is God and her Adam, so it's more about regenesis, it's Genesis period, and we can really look at it, what happened, my take on it. So Kirtan is supposed to be in that. Kirtan means in Sanskrit narrating, depicting, telling religious stories. So I wanted to say that this is my religion in terms of telling stories, entertaining people, involving, engaging each other, bringing together some musicians. We are forming a team for the first time. So that whole combination would be interesting. And so it's in that Kirtan tradition. So we'll officially invite the muse. Muse may be that binding factor that will glue us all together and will communicate to me something more than what is written in the story. So a lot of parts are recreated. So help me invite the muse. Looks like it's blazing to come alive. Not a small one, it's. With me I have Kiran Ruthi. She's a vocalist, composer, filmmaker. You make films? No. And mother of a little child, unschooler. I have Mohit Kakkar on my right. He plays multiple instruments. You must introduce more and tell what else you play. So he brought the keyboard, we were very excited and said, oh my god, we need a big space for it and we need at least 100 people to then raise the energy that way. So he's chosen djembe, and Mohit is been my student friend from New Era Panchgani, where we had this magical 2 months of creating theatre, Julius Caesar, and it was like mind-blowing. The whole experience that you got to spend 4 hours every day actually workshopping before you even touch the script was touched after a month. Whole month we were only just getting into our bodies and exploring and figuring out what is our self-expression. 30 children. So that was it was the beginning of this journey, re-beginning. So I know Mohit from that, and he's made a trip all the way from Bombay, leaving his college, bunking 1 day of college to be here and reignite this magic. Kiran, say a few things, play something for us. Introduce yourself. No?
Maybe let's hum a song together.
Yeah, good idea.
Music better than words.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Kiran.
you.
Thank you. So this is completely unrehearsed. I don't think she also knows that I'm going to ask her to start with singing, and that's where the whole substance of this evening is. To look for what appears out of this without the script, and a lot of it would come from you. So I want you to give me your attention. Keep the phones off. I'll need that. Mohit, you want to tell us about you? Play something?
No, you just more on this
Maybe like my fingers are itching now. I just gotta start. Okay, so with this I want to thank Sharmila and Chaitanya and the children, Sidhu, Aditya, Tara. Yes, Tara, thank you. That was perfect timing. Literally, that was like a nice beginning. I mean it. And
Here I am.
yeah, and for being such a kind friend and welcoming this idea. We've been trying to do something here, start something here since nearly 6 months. And every time something was just not falling in place, and finally we broke ice. Amruta, for being such a diligent assistant in making this possible behind the scenes. She's the only one who works with me. And of course, my son who has disappeared somewhere. He's a constant source. Oh, here he is, right in front. See, I can't see him. Like, he doesn't want to be here, so I can't see him. He's heard this story so many times, like, oh, not one more time. Each time it's a little different. So without him, there will be no inspiration to do this, actually. I mean, I should be taking up a full-time job. After this, we will have a little round of, it'll take an hour, around 45 to 60 minutes for the story. So the journey begins. After that, we have a potluck dinner for those of you who would like to stay back, mingle with the community. So it's a small community gathering. And most of us are unschoolers, self-learners, homeschoolers, self-learners, creative people. And it would be nice to get to know each other, so you're welcome. And I've left some flyers to announce a short course on dramatic storytelling. Maybe later you can ask me, then I'll be able to tell why dramatic storytelling and not just storytelling. Part of it is the Kirtan tradition. And there are some paintings. These are canvas prints of my original works done 2 years ago, where the whole journey began and the self became a little more clearer to hold and believe in and walk on. And I know a lot of people still snigger and laugh, but the self is fine. Alright, so with that we begin the journey. There it is. Watch out. It's coming. From your collar to your wrist. Oh, in your smile. Watch out, watch out. Slipping away. Sitting right on top of your spectacles. This is one naughty muse. If you ever met one, this is one naughty muse. And this is the muse that brings me all these things and stories and doesn't let me sleep nights and then gets me called crazy by other people. And that doesn't work at all. You've got to change this whole understanding. Pin this muse on. Oh, in your palms. He's jumping. Hold him with the muse. He is the creative ball. Creative, naughty, Loki, Krishna, whatever you want to call him. I still can't find a name for it. Pin him down. Ah! Finally. Stay here. Stay here. Go stay here. Okay, fine. Okay. Seems to be fine. Or should I begin now? Okay, thank you. Alright, I will do the invocation. No need to interrupt me all the time. So we have to do the invocation. Everyone has to join me in this invocation because he won't let me settle down and I'm going to sound a little bit off and not connect and what. So everyone, come to us. Come to us. Come to us.
Come to us.
Come to us, oh Spirit of life and love. Come to us, oh Spirit of life and love. Come to us, come to us, come to us. Come to us, come to us, come to us. Come to us. Come to us. From within, around, or up above. 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 We don't want to sing loudly, you just mumble. Because this one is very naughty. Won't you? We'll come home with you. Then don't tell me if it makes you sit down full night and make you write and sing and dance and call you crazy. Better sing along. Come to us. Let your child out. It's okay. It's safe space. Nobody's going to laugh at you. It's easy. Come on, let's do it. Come to us. Oh, Spirit of life and love. Come to us. Oh, Spirit of life and love. Come to us. Come to us. Come. Come to us, oh Spirit of play. Come to us, oh Spirit of play. Come to us, oh Spirit of play. Come into my life and stay. 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 Come play with us. Come play with us. Come to us. Come. Okay. Now he's finally sitting on top of this peacock, and that means he's happy. All right. Every time I have to deal with this muse, sometimes he's like wobbly jelly kind of thing, and sometimes he's like Krishna type of thing, and sometimes Loki and whatnot. All right. So here's the story of God and her Adam, which was delivered by this muse in the form of a woman I met in a jungle, and that's true. There are parts of it. So this was one day, some 20 years ago. I was feeling something we all feel from time to time. I was feeling rather sick. Sick of being the me I was then, 20 years ago. I was barely 26. sad, lonely, and tired of trying out everything that my parents, siblings, friends, teachers, and the world around me seem to suggest. And we all do this. We're not feeling right. I tried them all, and nothing had really brought that which I seemed to have within sight, that which was truly happy within me. Nothing felt right, nothing worked. So obviously, I was hopeless, as how hopeless can be. And so I left home and took to traveling aimlessly. I mean, I didn't run away from home, I just left home to travel. And soon I found myself in the wilderness of the Dang jungles. The wilderness seemed to suit me quite fine. Not. It let me be. It had no problems with my sadness or gloominess, unlike the people in the city who's like, oh, why are you sad? Oh, why are you so gloomy? Come on, let's take you to, give you ice cream or take you to the shrink. It's not, I would wake up over there and start walking in the jungles aimlessly, without a care in the world. So you just reach your wit's end and you don't know what to do. So I didn't feel loved, wanted, cared for enough. Not by the city I lived in then, not by my family and friends. Nobody seemed to get me, nor could I get what was it that would make me truly happy. And it's not their fault, it was just something you couldn't put your finger on. So I wandered around aimlessly in the jungle, sobbing, silently, and I drifted along and found a place which seemed cool and quiet enough to let me be my miserable self. It was a grove of mahua trees. I've never seen mahua trees before. They have this sweet fruit which turns into liquor, which I didn't know at that time. The coolness of the shade of the mahua felt like a safe, quiet blanket I was looking for. So I lay down sobbing in despair and soon fell asleep, finally. And hours must have passed, because when I woke up, it was almost dusk. I yawned, and the orange of the sun was busy washing the leaves on the ground quietly. I sat up and took a sip of water from my bottle and stretched my arms, and my head turned slightly, and what did I see? A smiley, wrinkly old woman, an English woman with, blonde hair and everything, sitting by the tree next to mine. Soft smile reached from her eyes to mine immediately. Before I could ask her obvious questions, she said, do you know that you smile and talk in your sleep? And I blurted, no, I don't. I used to as a child, and she interrupted me again. As a child, you were very many things. Some of it you still are, but forgotten. So I smiled politely. It was like, didn't expect English in the middle of mahua jungle, dang jungles. So I said, ma'am, you seem to know a lot about me. May I ask who you are and what are you doing here today in this tribal remoteness? She said, questions. Yes, questions. All your questions will be soon answered, but it's going to be night soon. Here, have an apple. And she fished out a glistening red apple from her backpack. I took it because I was really hungry. While I took a bite, she continued, it's time for me to tell a story now, and I am looking for a listener. I said, well, I do love stories, and before I could complete the sentence, good then, let's get started, shall we? Would you like to hear a story which has been told wrongly? A story in which God was a woman, not a man. I said, sure, why not? And without another moment's loss, she started off, her face glowing even more in the evening light. In my despair, well, there was no sign of it already. So today I'm going to tell you the same story which she brought me and changed my life forever. After that story, a little bit of me, the new me, started coming alive in me. I could feel it. So it began working well for me in this mad, crazy world. So I'm going to try my best to recreate her voice, her personality, her aura. And she began also with strumming an instrument.
So let's begin. But first come, let's call the muse. And you see where I got the bad habit from? Call your Krishna, your Gauri, your Ganesha. Call your Loki, all the children, and sing. Soul to soul, sing together. Soul to soul, sing together. One more song, please. Soul to soul, sing together. Heart to heart, dance together. Spirit to spirit, listen, come listen, come listen. Spirit to spirit, listen, come listen. Oh, listen. Bring me a story and take me home to me. Bring me a story and take me home to me. This was the time when the world was all new and all. There were no people in it, but it flourished with the rarest of most beautiful birds and animals, flowers and trees, and the sky was rainbow. Rainbow filled with a million colors. Everything was ever so beautiful and perfect beyond any idea of beauty and perfection that you and I will ever have. There in the middle of the glade, you see a woman, a tall, majestic, beautiful, gorgeous woman. And she was no ordinary woman, but God herself. The only one at that time in the whole wide universe. There was no other creature alive. With a brush in hand, God is seen dusting her statue and giving finishing touches to her sculpture. She's going about creating and sculpting her life-size statue with fervor and excitedly dancing around him, kneading bits of clay in and out of the statue and throwing bits around. She's dusting him off, powder flying all around and celestial music, resounding through the skies. Very pleased with what she had created. She was dancing in ecstasy around the sculpture, doing the finishing touches after a while, which felt like a beautifully long while. An eternity was born. She stepped back, admired her beloved statue, and began to sing another celestial song. It sounded very much like Bollywood now. Anyway, that was her, not me. And if you and I were there, we would have seen joy bursting through every pore of her being like a water fountain. And she sang in a voice and language you and I would not understand, and I dare not try, but what's the harm? Shh, don't tell anyone I tried her voice, her song. Makarushi, Makarushi. This is God's voice. Makarushi, Makarushi. Koshi Paramatara, Tara, Rara, Rara, Tara, Makarushi. Dimukida Amunigiti. Was soon complete, and God stood there in rapt admiration, ready to breathe life into her second attempt at creating someone in her own image. Her first attempt didn't turn out so perfect after all. You know who the first one was, right? Don't you? You know? Who was the first one? No. Anybody else? No.
You may as well tell us.
Any child can tell me who that is? Which animal is that? Snake, that's the snake, you're right. The serpent, the dark side of God. And he seemed very upset for being kept bereft of God's attention and love. He had grown sinister over time, very mean, and was always looking out to find ways of being noticed, of being loved once again by his Creator. But even over millions of years, he had gained no favor from God and had grown ever more vengeful. Full of retribution, deceit, rage, and jealousy, he was constantly plotting to get even with God in any way he can and attract some attention if not love, at any cost. Now he sees God very happy with her second attempt of creating someone like her, and he begins to feel FOMO. You know, what's FOMO? Anybody? What's FOMO? Nobody? Fear of missing out. It was, started right then. Obviously, further in the story, you will see how he begins to plot and contrive ways of interrupting their rendezvous with his sinister plans. For now, he just slithers, wriggles, hisses, and watches. Meanwhile, God is standing beside her statue and she takes a deep breath, closes her eyes and sings a spell again. Oh, how many spells? This is really Bollywood. No. Oh, I am in India, am I not? Right. To life, come 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 to life. You take this life, I gift you this breath. You take this life, I gift you this breath. Oh breath, breath of joy. La 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 la, breath of joy. Live my laughter, sing my love. You're now come to life and stand up tall. You're now come to life and stand up tall. Love my world, every creature, every bird. Love my world, come be my child, my lover, my friend, my God. I'm your creator and I command thee to obey life's mystery. God leans down and gently kisses the statue on his forehead. And lo and behold, man stands awake and he opens his eyes and looks at God and instantly and intuitively he realizes that there's some special reason she has created him. Hence gratefully he bows to her and kisses her hand. She stands ever tall and with joy looks around and is happy with all her creation and super content with herself. Finally, she settles her eyes on man, bends down, raises man's chin, looks at him carefully and approvingly. And these were her first words to man, to us. You are the best of my creation so far, if I would say so myself. Crafting you from my very own flesh, I have made you in my own image. Well, almost. Oh, look at you, so beautiful, complete with a mind and heart just like mine. Now we will be able to love all things just the way I do. Now you will be able to love all things things just the way I do. Now, I will not be so alone in this gorgeous existence. Now we will have adventures, unique adventures together. Now we will craft stories that help us understand existence better. Now, this is perfect. Oh, just so perfect. Like me, man. You are perfectly perfect. Thank you, dear God, thank you very much. Who was that? Any clues? Who spoke? Man, of course, the statue that came to life, right? See, after that we stopped speaking. Nobody speaks after that. Well, he hasn't registered anything that God just said. Instead, he continues bumbling around, looking here and there, and admires everything of God's creations. And is awestruck by all of God's creations. The flower, the butterfly, and the fruit, and the trees. And till date, he's just walking around like this. No, actually like this. Awestruck. Wow, this sure is an amazing place. Oh my God, how wondrous all this. Everything is so amazing. So mind-blowing. Just wonderful, God. How wonderful you are, God. My God. I mean, did you yourself create all this yourself, Create all these things? He is this innocent, unsure child of two, and she's the eccentric, creative, mad artist. Yeah? She looks at her nails and, well, now it would be boastful, but the fact is, all this that you see, every single bit of it has come from my imagination, from my joy, from my love. In fact, all of it is me, and you are all an integral